Welcome to Lead with Kindness, your essential podcast for disrupting the workplace with kindness and well-being. I'm Helen Rimmer, and I'm armed with 20 years of leadership experience and a passion for positive psychology. I'm here to offer practical tips and share inspiring stories to revolutionise leadership. Ready to challenge the norm? Let's dive in and transform our workplaces together. It's time to make a difference. Let's get started. Today, we're excited to have Emma Skilton join us, an expert in gut health and a beacon for women striving to balance the demands of work and home life with their health. In this episode, we'll discuss the crucial role of leadership in personal health and how leading with kindness towards ourselves can spark significant changes in our lives. Emma, creator of She's Got Guts programme and Facebook group, which I'm in, will share her expert insights on adopting a gut-friendly lifestyle to achieve more energy, confidence and joy. Hello, Emma.
Hello, thank you for having me.
That's all right. So, Emma, can you share how you approach gut health and how your approach to gut health and well-being influences leadership qualities in the women you work with?
Yes, gosh. Well, I really like to take a holistic view when I'm coaching. So the gut is the start point because I've found in my experience, and I believe there's more and more research coming out to back this up, that when our gut is in balance, then the rest of our mental well-being and our physical well-being functions better. And when we're in a role where we're having to show up as a leader, we're often got a lot of demands on our time and our energies. And in order to really feel that we're performing our best as a leader, then I feel that we can do that by supporting ourselves first. And for me, the gut is that first point. And then we grow. So we look at not just what we're eating, but actually the day-to-day habits that we may or may not have that support us. So even down to, I encourage my clients to use a beautiful organic skincare, because actually, apart from the fact that it's great for the planet and it's better for us, if you're using one with beautiful essential oils in, then you're getting a great emotional lift, as well as using something on your skin that's going to support your microbiome. So we often consider what we're eating as the only thing that will make a difference to our gut, but actually what we put on our skin, even down to the people we interact with, how much time we may spend in nature, it all affects us. So I try and kind of just highlight that it's a kind of total way of living, and I call it a gut-friendly lifestyle, how to live a gut-friendly lifestyle for greater vitality and confidence.
Lovely. I find it all fascinating. It's really interesting how this research is all coming out. It's the thing, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah.
How does fostering kindness towards oneself act as a leadership skill, particularly in managing personal health and professional responsibilities?
I think because we want to show up as a great kind of example of how being in a leadership role can actually be full of vitality. I think in the past, and I've found this with quite a few clients that come to me, that have found themselves either heading towards burnout or in burnout, is that there's this drive to be really successful, to kind of almost over deliver in the workplace, to be seen to be excellent. And that's a very, I think, probably coming from quite a male perspective, that we still really operate in a quite male dominated environment, many of us. And I've seen it when it's all female as well. Sometimes there's this kind of competitive element that comes in. And actually the self-care gets forgotten. And if we're not showing up in a space where we're obviously looking after ourselves, then we've got the extra energy to give out to support other people, then we're kind of doing a disservice to the people below us, because the example we're giving is, to be successful, you need to feel frazzled. And I don't think that's a good message, personally.
No, that is definitely, we're on the same page there. Absolutely. One of my big things is you've got to lead with sort of example, haven't you? Whatever you're doing.
Absolutely. And if you're wanting to have a team that really grow with you, they want someone that they can look up to and aspire to. And if you're showing up in that healthy, vibrant space that feels kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just that you've got more, that you're not depleted, so your cup is full kind of expression, then I think that's inspiring, especially to younger people who may be just joining the workplace, and this is could even be their first role.
Mm.
Do we want to give that message that when you're at work, work's everything, and you've got no time for your own self-care? I personally, I don't want to be in that kind of environment. I want to be somewhere where I feel nurtured and
Yeah.
that I can give my best, but also I have time to give the best to myself as well.
Yeah, that's resonating very well here, and hopefully with our listeners. But actually, here's a little, the next question is, what effective, simple habits can our listeners start today to support their health and leadership capabilities in the long run?
There's so many, so I don't want to overwhelm you, but I think some really, really simple ones, and they often seem obvious, but they're so easily overlooked.
Mm.
So one is to make sure you stay hydrated. So it's very easy to sit at a desk, or maybe you're in a role where you're talking a lot. And when we're talking, we can get dehydrated really easily. So always make sure you've got water
Mm.
nearby, so you can just have little sips all day. Not everyone is drawn to water, forget to drink water. So maybe put a slice of fruit in there. Fruity water is really nice. Stay away from carbonated drinks.
Yeah.
And I am a coffee fiend. I found a really good quality decaf, but I still have to remember you don't want to be kind of running on caffeine, because that is going to be depleting you over a longer term. So the odd cup with caffeine is really, for most people, not going to make a difference. But if you're using caffeine to get you through the day, I would say that's something to really look at and try and cut back on that. Have more water, maybe find some herbal teas that you like, so that you're staying hydrated, because your brain likes that, you'll function better, and so does your gut. So it gets all your digestion and it gets your gut functioning much more effectively. So that's such an obvious one, but I would say a really good start point. And secondly, try and avoid those sugary processed snacks that are often handed around. They're not great for your gut bugs.
Yeah.
So easy to slip into, and especially if you're one of those people like myself that feel that winter has just gone on and on and on and on. It's so easy to start going for those high carb, comforting type foods. And again, in small amounts, really not going to be a terrible thing to do. But if it becomes the daily habit, then again, they often high sugar. If they're the dreaded low fat, I say the dreaded low fat because low fat tends to have higher sugar, higher salt. So try and find some really nice different kinds of snacks that maybe with nuts,
Mm.
and combining that with maybe some cheese,
Mm.
fresh fruit rather than dried fruit. So dried fruit's very concentrated sugars. So again, you could be having too much sugar without realizing, and sugar is a bit of a baddie for gut bugs. So trying to cut down on sugar, even if you didn't cut it out completely, cutting down on sugar and finding some more kind of combinations of good fats and proteins will keep you sustained for longer. And you're getting extra fiber in things like nuts and fresh fruit that, again, your gut bugs love fiber.
Oh.
One more. If you're going for your lunch or your main meal of the day, try and make it as colourful as possible. So
Mm.
again, we're kind of often creatures of habit, and we might find that we're eating the same things for lunch most days, or our evening meal kind of rotates between a few of our favorite dishes. But if we can bring into that as many different colored I say plant-based because people think of just fruit and vegetables, but actually nuts, seeds, beans, pulses, lentils, they all count as plant-based. And you don't need to be vegan or vegetarian to enjoy those. So variety, I would say, try and bring more variety into your diet, and that really helps as well. Not just for the gut, but nutritionally, you'll be getting a wider range of vitamins and minerals.
Mm. That's Very helpful. I'm going off to have a colourful lunch after we recorded this. Can you recount a story from your programme where a focus on gut health improved leadership abilities and overall well-being?
Now let me think. This is interesting because a lot of the people that have come to do my programs recently, it's been on a very personal level. They've just felt energetically, they haven't been functioning to their best. And I'm not absolutely clear what their role is, so whether they're leaders or not. But I feel that as a result of it, they have felt a lot more confident and they feel that they are kind of more productive. So some of the comments they've had were things like, I thought my brain fog was menopause, now I realize it was my diet, or I found that I've stopped procrastinating. So they felt much more clarity and able to make decisions more easily. I think, and a lot of these people who've come to me actually have been self-employed, so freelance or running their own businesses. So they're having to really find their own energy and almost leading themselves.
Yeah.
So I think some of the other things are that just sort of energetically, they feel that they're getting more done because they're not having that dip, say later in the day, or they're not stressing about food because they've got support in good things to nourish them throughout the day, so they feel more productive. So I suppose in answer to your question, it's not specific in a leadership role as we might think in a traditional way, but certainly the feedback I've had in what they've said is that they just feel that they're functioning more effectively day to day, which is great. I suppose from my point of view, if you're in a leadership role and you're feeling sustained and you've got greater clarity, then that is going to feed through to your team again, because you'll be seen as someone who's just really on it. And you know, when you need to make a decision, you feel much clearer about what that is. And because if we're not eating properly, it's things like people say, oh, I'm really hangry. Or, they've got that 4 o'clock chalk, they've got that afternoon slump, or, you know, after lunch, they suddenly feel really sleepy and they don't really want to do anything. What I've found is that when we actually support our gut health and we're eating in a way that sustained us throughout the day, so actually we don't get those highs and lows of the sugar dips and highs, we just function far more efficiently.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I need that. I always have a slump late afternoon. That's my weak point. I can be really good all day, but I need to get on some of a bit more of your gut health stuff. So, and how important is it for leaders, and as you say, self-leaders in their self-employed work like us, to adopt these new sustainable practices that nurture rather than deplete their energy?
I believe that longer term, it will actually affect our overall health and well-being. So it might be that someone's got something very specific now that they feel, oh, I really need to address this. So it could just be that after they eat, they get really bloated and they're just fed up of that discomfort. It might be that they just generally, the thing that people most come and say is that they want more energy. And they feel that they're lacking in energy. And actually, if you've got a career that is going to span 20, however many years we're going to end up needing to work now as women before we can retire, you want to feel confident that you're going to be able to maintain that level of effectiveness throughout your career. And yes, things do come along and you perhaps there is an illness or, you know, something that happens that kind of makes you feel at certain times, okay, there's extra pressure and stress here that's kind of making it more difficult. But actually, when we're balancing our gut, it's been shown that we actually deal with stressful situations more effectively. So in that respect, it makes us more resilient.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's like we're investing now in our long-term health. So yes, you can get immediate results. Some people don't get results straight away, that it takes a little bit longer, and it really depends on your starting point. So some people come to me and their diet is really terrible and they know it. They don't cook, they only buy like oven ready dishes. They just lost that love of food. So it may be that it's going to take them a little bit longer, but then they will start to see the results. And it, maybe after 21 days, they're like, oh, I've started to realize I haven't got that slump anymore, or I feel a bit better clarity, or I've lost some weight, whatever it might be for that person. I also get people who come and say, oh, I thought I ate really healthily.
Yeah.
But then I realize that some of these healthy, so-called healthy foods that are marketed to us as healthy foods aren't so healthy after all.
Mm.
And then when they stop having those and they start bringing in more sort of pure, unprocessed ingredients, again, they notice changes. So it's very personal, but overall, I feel that, and basically because we're just cutting out all the processed, really ultra processed, and really finding new ways to eat that are easy to prepare, but they sustain us and we enjoy eating them. That has to be really key. Eating food is really for us often a social activity. It's not, some people it does seem like it's just fuel. But as a society, food is seen as a social time to share with others, whether it's family, friends, and we want to do that in an environment where we're actually enjoying what we're eating and feeling like it's actually doing us some good, which of course that's what we hope. But the way that a lot of our food is manufactured today, I would say it's debatable. It fills us up, but actually doing what it needs to be doing to, keep us feeling really well over the longer period.
Yeah, that all makes such a lot of sense. I was talking to my cousin yesterday, and she was saying when she comes to meat, she'll only eat meat things that have one ingredient, or two if it's like a mix of pork and beef. But she's trying to cut down on what processed things she's eating. I thought that's a really nice idea, like a simple way of looking at it.
Yeah, and it is almost simplifying things. And that, I would always say to start with, you be quite strict. And I do kind of share quite a limited food list with clients initially, just to give your gut a rest and really stick with the very pure foods, because it's things like pork, for example. Most pork will be bacon, ham, sausages, all highly processed. So they've got preservatives in there that the way they're produced are not really in a way that we want to be eating. So in some respects, it's easier just to say don't eat any pork at all. Initially. Or, with dairy, don't have any dairy at all initially, because some people are intolerant to dairy, they don't realize. So you cut it out completely. When you then reintroduce down the line, if you want to reintroduce it, you find you tend to have a very immediate reaction. So I don't drink milk anymore. I've always suffered with throat, and I always suspected milk was to do with it, although I don't have a milk allergy. When I drink milk, I immediately feel that my throat feels quite phlegmy.
Wow, that's interesting.
So I'm okay with fermented. So like Greek yogurt's a great one because it's high protein. It's made in a way that it's fermented, so the gut loves that, and it's easy to digest. Doesn't seem to have the same reaction. So again, sometimes you might say, well, I can cope with yogurt, but I'm not going to have milk. But initially, just work out what it is, and it can be quite complicated. But the less additives we've got, there's things like emulsifiers in foods that aren't great for the gut. So I encourage all my clients to be label detectives, and they get really into it. I'll start getting photographs sent to me from their cupboards or in the supermarket. Can I have this? Can I have this? I'm like, well, it looks all right until you get to that one. And yeah, I would try not to have that one if I were you. So, it all goes to degrees of how strict you want to be. But even if you tried, just as I say, for 21 days, being really strict and seeing how much you're actually cutting out, but then what lovely fresh things you're introducing, it changes your taste buds as well.
That's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. So how can we apply these principles of a gut-friendly lifestyle to enhance decision making and stress management and all those skills that we all need in work?
Well, I think what it comes down to is that if you started to adapt your diet to be more gut friendly, which is in a way easier because if you've got some nice recipes that you found, and when people are on my course, they get loads and loads of recipes from me that are really adaptable. You know that your start point is that you're nourishing yourself efficiently and effectively, and then there's self-care practices that will help to reinforce the gut are things like walking in nature every day. So we need that sunlight.
Mm.
So if we're working at home or we're traveling in public transport and then we're going straight into an office and we're not really getting out in proper daylight, that can really affect us in our ability to function well. So one thing I would say is that get out in daylight as soon as you can when you first wake up, and
Mm.
ideally for 20 minutes. So even if it means that if you're traveling to a job outside of the home, can you sort of make it so you have to walk 20 minutes and
Yeah.
not just drive all the way or get public transport all the way? If you work from home, can you make sure the first thing you do was take yourself on a walk? So as
Yeah.
if you're walking to work, go out and come back again. Just really, really simple things that actually has a way of clearing the mind, gets your blood circulating, gets you out in that daylight, as I say, which is really important for us. And then I think again, as we were talking right back at the beginning about self-care, if you're putting in some simple daily practices, and actually walking is some really easy to do exercise as well. So exercise again is really important. Then you just show up in a more positive way. And then I feel that when we make those decisions that need to be made in the workplace as a leader, we feel much clearer about what we're doing, how we're approaching it, the decisions that we're making, because we're not being affected by physically how we feel if we're under par, mentally how we feel if we're under par. Um, so with the best will in the world, we're not going to be on 100% top form all of the time.
Mm.
But these are little things that if we can put them into daily practice, it goes towards putting us in that really positive space where we're feeling really on top of our work.
Brilliant.
Does
Yeah.
that answer your
Oh
question?
yeah, definitely. And it's made me just think, before the pandemic, I used to work in London, but I used to walk from Victoria up to Oxford. I worked just off Oxford Street. And that was a 45-minute walk and it was beautiful. Went through Green Park. So you got the buzz of London, but you also got that greenery. And when the pandemic hit, it was one of the things I missed most. It was that 45 minutes a day of exercise that
Yes,
I was allowed to do
yes.
because it would have taken me that long on the bus and everything. And I've never quite got back there, but you've made me think, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get that back into my day, that start of the day walk.
Yeah, and I wonder if you found that because there is a thing about that walking and that rhythmic walking. It's quite almost a time, it can be quite meditative. So it's a really good time also just to gather your thoughts,
Uh,
think ahead of maybe what's going to happen that day, and it helps you sort of put things into order of what you might need to do first, or there might be something that's been kind of bothering you, and somehow over that period of that walking, it sort of resolves itself.
yeah,
So it gives us space, doesn't it? It gives us space before our day starts. And I find often I make a point, and it helps that I have a dog because he needs to get out and he needs to walk. He's really old now, so we have to walk really slowly.
oh no.
But at that time,
Uh,
it's amazing how much I'm just mulling over what needs to be done today. What's the priority? What have I forgotten? And there's so many thoughts that will just pop in my head and go, oh, yes, little light bulb moments
mm,
of, oh, yes, okay, I forgot that. Or, all right, that needs to be my priority today. When I get back, I'm going to do that first. And somehow it doesn't happen the same way if I'm just sat at a desk going, oh, what do I need to do next? But I think actually at any time of the day, if we're just feeling a little bit stuck, then get up, have a walk in the fresh air,
yeah,
be amazed, and your gut will love you for it as well, because it wants those, you look out the window at the moment, spring's arrived,
yeah.
everywhere's full blooming, and there's seeds flying around, there's just all, okay, if you've got hay fever, you're not going to want all the seeds and the pollen.
No.
But actually, if your gut's in balance,
Yeah.
you are more resistant to all those allergies as well. So You know, there's just so many benefits to focusing on your gut health. But again, your microbiome, you think it's made up of all those little bacterias and viruses and funguses, and it's incredible. The just the variety and the depth, and the more we expose ourselves to different environments that are, you know, ideally healthy environments, obviously you don't want to be in unhealthy environments, that does benefit us too. So
Yeah.
you're working on so many levels.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so if you're in a city, it may feel that it's harder because often it feels very polluted. But I think now with these areas that they're trying to make, you know,
Yeah.
less congested, even in a city park, you can
Yes.
be under a tree. The energy that you'll get from being around trees, particularly, very grounding, and all goes towards supporting your overall gut health.
Yeah. And it won't suit everyone, but for me, walking through London where there was lots to keep like look at as well as my brain going, it sort of gave me purpose and yeah, some sense to of sort of yeah, knowing that I was treading the roads that have been trodden on for many years. It was just something I loved about it. I really miss it. But also that stop in your day that transitions you from not working to working. It can
Mm.
really help psychologically as well. That sort of
Yeah, I think it's quite important actually, just to have those moments where you do stop.
yeah,
And it's so easy, and I'm guilty of it myself, to just spend hours and hours sat at a computer screen
yeah,
because we've got lots to do. But actually, the body being sedentary for long periods of time, we know is not good for us. So even if it was, you know, not everyone can do this, but in the ideal world, every 20 minutes, even if you just got up and walked around for 2 minutes,
yeah. That would help.
you've got had a break, your mind clears, and then you come back again. You probably find that overall your productivity's better.
Yeah, definitely. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. Yeah, yeah, and it is. Your productivity improves with rest, definitely. I always
Yeah.
say rest is productive, and I think people need to sort of get that in.
Yes, and I love to hear that, because my first boss, when I left university, I got my dream job, and my boss was like, you know, to rest is to rust. And I used to really resent it because I'm like, I don't believe you, but you're my senior. And
And that goes back to the working cultures being set up for certain people,
oh,
doesn't
it was so 1980s. It was
it?
just
Yeah,
such of the time. But I think ever since I've kind of fought against that and like, no, actually, if I need a rest, I'm going to have a rest. And it's surprising how much I get done, even though sometimes it feels like a juggle, as we were
yeah,
chatting
oh,
about this
yeah,
morning. But um, I do make sure that I have plenty of, not necessarily rest lying around, but rest
yeah,
as in time out, doing something else
yeah,
away from the grind, shall we say.
yeah, definitely. And a
Yeah,
walk is a rest, you know.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, moving on, how can the concept of leading with kindness be practically implemented in daily routines to benefit the individual health, but also improve some team dynamics and workplace environments? So, how can we take this into our workplaces?
So I think some of the great things when we think about kindness is that when we're kind to ourselves first, it makes it really easier to be kind to others.
Yeah,
The flip side of that is often women feel that they're giving all the time because we've been taught to give out,
yeah,
and we forget about ourselves. But then that can lead to resentment,
yeah,
because if you feel like you're always giving out to everyone else and there's a kind of expectation that you'll get it back and then you don't get it back, then I think that can lead to a not great mental headspace. By being kind to ourselves first, that could be really something so simple of just allowing yourself to buy a beautiful face cream that you love and
oh,
use it every day.
yeah,
Don't save it for best. That's being kind to you because you deserve it, kind to your skin because your skin is going to benefit. It'll put you in a good mood because it's something that you've really cherish and you know that you're benefiting from it. And I think when we do that for ourselves, we show up, people notice.
mm,
They notice that you found a space where you feel you deserve to be looked after, and actually you can do that for yourself. You don't need other people to be doing it for you all the time. And then actually it makes it easier because you feel fulfilled, to then be generous to other people. And in a work environment, I think that shows up as being kinder. Sometimes perhaps we're not always very tolerant. So maybe, we turn up and we're just a little bit more seeing it in the perspective of the other person,
Yeah. Yeah.
which if we're feeling depleted and we're not feeling that we've been very kind to ourselves, perhaps we're not so kind to others. And I don't believe it's a conscious thing. I think it's unconscious, but it opens up our awareness, and also giving out to other people in a really not expecting anything back. Actually, when that person, you see how much they've appreciated it, it is a real feel good factor for us. And there's been research shown actually that if we were given, say, even £10 out of the blue,
Yeah.
if we then use that to give something to somebody else rather than just keep it and spend it on ourselves, we have the greater happiness results. So I think it's a fine line, isn't it, of being kind and giving to others in a generous way, but not in that over giving, over delivering, that somehow sometimes we can find ourselves in, almost like having to prove how great we are. It's like, actually be great with yourself,
Yeah.
and then have enough there to share with others. And in leadership role, I think it's really important to be seen as someone who's approachable, who's kind, who's nurturing of their staff, because there can be this feeling of people feeling they can't live up to, if your seniors are kind of very high energy, almost like warrioress all the time. The danger is they wear out everybody because they can't keep up, and then they just don't bother.
Yeah.
And it can be almost standoffish, like, well, I'm not going to get involved, it's just all up to you, you should know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, then somehow some people start to feel there's something wrong with them. There's the two extremes, and somehow we want to find that space in the center
Yeah.
where we're available, we're engaging and encouraging without doing it for people, but then being available and approachable if someone feels like, actually, I don't really quite understand what I'm meant to be, or I'm feeling a bit rubbish today, I just need a little bit of extra support. And I think as a leader, we can do that for people when we're doing it for ourselves.
Totally. Totally. So can you discuss how the changes in gut health can actually also influence that emotional resilience? So you sort of touched on it a bit there, and capacity to lead effectively under pressure.
Yeah, so as I touched on earlier, when our gut is balanced, there's been research to show that it actually affects our mental well-being. So you may have heard of the saying that the gut is like our second brain. There's as many nerve endings in our guts as the brain, so it's like a two-way signal. And sometimes people have noticed it physically, that if you're anxious, you might get sort of butterflies in your
Yeah.
tummy, or people say, oh, follow your gut instinct.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of truth in that, in that the gut is sending messages all of the time. So if it's really balanced and you've got lots of the happy, healthy bacteria in there, then the messages getting to and from the brain are going to work in a more positive way. If your gut's got an overpopulation of the bad bacteria, which can cause something called dysbiosis,
All
which
right.
can show up with lots of different physical symptoms as a result, but often feeling really quite depleted, or in its extreme can feel like you've got ME. So you can imagine, if you're always feeling under par and
Yeah.
you've got these annoying symptoms, that's going to be a drain on your energy, and ultimately mentally you're going to feel sort of, probably you've got less tolerance, you just everything feels a bit of an effort. And so where we can really help to support our gut, so that in turn mentally we're more resilient and we just have that clarity, which I mentioned before as well, then when we show up in the workplace, we're just going to perform so much better.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah. So as we wrap up, is there anything else you want to share?
Oh, well, if you did just one thing, reduce your sugar.
sugar. There we are.
I regularly run sugar-free challenges in
Of
my
course.
free
Yeah.
Facebook group because it's a really good insight as a very simple start point of how much sugar is hidden in our diet, how much we might be consuming without even realizing it. And when we cut it out completely for a short time, even 7 to 10 days, how we notice how much we change. And we might get really horrible withdrawal symptoms at the beginning. Some people get headaches, some people feel really tired, some people feel really grumpy. But actually, when you can get over that, you end up feeling more that you have more energy, you feel more focused, greater clarity. So one simple thing I would say, try that. And if you
Right.
want support, come and find me at She's Got Guts.
Yeah.
And ultimately, get more variety into your diet, get out in fresh air. And if you need someone to make you accountable, again,
Yeah.
come and find me at She's Got Guts.
Yeah.
My website's emmaskilton.com, so really easy to remember. It's just my name. But there's lots of support out there. And also, don't expect overnight results. I think there's a danger. We seem to live in a world that it's sort of so fast that we think, oh, I've done that, I should get this now. And the
Yeah.
reality is it's an ongoing lifestyle.
Yes.
It's not a quick fix diet. And as we know, really, diets long term generally don't work. So
Yeah.
this is about looking at your lifestyle, making little changes, incremental over time, that actually then have really amazing results, and people feel that their skin's improved. As I say, keep saying their mental clarity, they've got more energy, they're more resilient. So if there's bugs going around, especially in the office or if you work in a school, then hopefully you're less likely to pick them up. There's just so many benefits to really just eating better for your gut, definitely, and those little lifestyle changes that I mentioned.
Yeah. Brilliant. So I will put all of the places people can find you in the in the show notes. So nice and easy for people to link to. And thank you for sharing your invaluable insights today on Lead with Kindness. By integrating kindness and wellbeing into our leadership, this enhances both our health and empowers us in all areas of our life. To our listeners, remember that leading with kindness includes making conscious choices that support our own health and vitality. And if you want to change and lead a more vibrant life, consider reaching out to Emma or exploring her programs. Thank you, Emma.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been lovely to chat with you.
Thank you for joining us on Lead with Kindness. I hope today's episode has inspired you and equipped you with practical insights to bring more kindness and well-being into your leadership journey. Remember, the transformation towards a kinder workplace starts with us, and every small step counts. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with fellow leaders, and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more people committed to positive change. I'm Helen Rimmer, and it's been a pleasure to be part of your leadership journey today. Until next time, keep leading with kindness and fostering well-being in all that you do. Goodbye and take care.